Hello everybody and welcome to Healthy Friday. So as promised, I want to give you a tour of Tallulah Tower Garden. Now I've turned off the lights because if the lights are on, it's like being in a Star Wars movie, so I'll show you that in a few minutes. But I just wanted to give everybody a basic introduction to the Tower Garden. I have what's known as the Tower Garden Home. You can see if I tip the video down a little bit, this is the one that has the smaller base, so it fits in a smaller area. The Tower Garden Flex is a much bigger base because it's meant to be, you can use it indoors, but it's meant to be outdoors. It's got a much bigger reservoir. This one has the smaller reservoir because it's for indoor use. And the light kit is available for both the indoor and the outdoor if you want to bring your outdoor one indoors to use in the winter. I only want to grow inside because I don't love the idea of bugs and all those other fun things. So I love my Tower Garden Home. So I call her Tallulah. Everybody I know has kind of given theirs a name because they're just so in love with them. But let me just give you the basics of the Tower Garden. So again, it's filled with water. It's a hydroponic system, essentially water and air, and then nutrients are going to cascade down through over the roots of all of your plants that are in there. So I'm going to give you some of the real basics today. This is what it looks like, and I'm 5'4", so it doesn't take up a whole lot of room. Not super tall. They're having on the top here what's known as the microgreens little ports. These ports don't need a basket. They are completely open, but they have a place where they'll hold the rock wool. Then there's 4 sections here along the bottom that have the bigger ports where you grow your larger fruits, well, mostly vegetables, not really fruits. Inside each one of the ports, you're going to be putting some rock wool. This is what it comes in. It's a great big sheet of rock wool, and you wet this, and then it goes in these little trays, and you put your seeds in here to get them germinated. If you like, you can germinate them in here and leave them there for several days till they sprout. I've had tremendous success with just putting them in the Tower Garden itself and them sprouting because again, I put my timer on for 18 hours of daylight. This is the timer as you can see, and they do recommend to mimic nature in full summer, 18 hours for them to be on. So you get your Tower Garden, you get your rock wool, you get your little baskets that go into the ports, you get your Tower Tonics, there's an A and a B, and you mix those up to put into the reservoir. I'm not 100% sure how much the reservoir holds, but it does tell you in the instructions how much to put in. You'll check your pH balances every week or so, and they have pH up and pH down for making your water kind of have that good pH balance in the 5.5 to 6.5 range, which keeps it healthiest for your plants. So I just want to show you a couple other things about the Tower Garden. Now, I got mine in May, but they were running back order on the lights. So I started growing things anyways, and I discovered that growing indoors, you're not going to be able to grow indoors very successfully without the light kit. And the reason for that is because plants need all the spectrum of light, and modern windows do block a lot of the UVA and UVB lights. So my light kit didn't come in until mid-July, so I've got plants in varying stages because I've had some from before, some that I started new, and then some that I've just recently pulled out too. So mine's a little unusual in that respect, but let me just show you as an example. I'm going to pull out one of these little pots, or baskets I should say, and then you'll see, yesterday I cleaned and took care of everything, so as I pull it out, you're going to see the long root of this particular plant coming in. I want to say this is rainbow chard. And see, this is what happens. It's planted in the rock wool. You can kind of see that there. And then the plant grows, and then the roots come down and out, and then these are the little baskets that they're in. And the trick that I learned from one of the Tower Garden Facebook pages I got on, and I'm so grateful, is these baskets are round, but you don't want to shove the basket all the way in. You kind of want to pinch right here when you put your basket in. The reason being, the ports are kind of half moon shaped, and if you stick the lip of the basket underneath that port, then you're not going to be able to easily pull this out to trim up your roots. And it's super important that you do trim up your roots. I posted a picture last night, I think, of one of them where I pulled out the roots and there was just so much. And I'm trying to remember now if I left one of them with long roots so we could see that. I don't think I did. I basically took them all out and trimmed those roots. You don't want your roots growing down to the very bottom because then they could get tangled in the pump that pumps the water up to the top, and your pump will be, it'll be compromised at that point, or it'll die on you. So you definitely need to trim up your roots. So I'm going to pull out another one here. Let's see. pull out one of my bib lettuces if I can get it, and see if I can show you the roots. There we go, that I trimmed up. Yep, so here's a good example. So here's a whole bunch of bib lettuce. And if you see that, see how I just took a pair of scissors? The roots were incredibly long, and I just took a pair of scissors and cut those off. And see again, that port is a little bit pinched, not port, basket is pinched at the back so that it's easy for me to slip that in and then pop it out when I want to trim up those roots. And one of these just broke off, so I'm gonna eat it. That's my bib lettuce. So around the very bottom, I didn't know this in the beginning. I planted a whole bunch of green beans, love green beans, and they were at the top and they were covering up the growth of all my other plants. So yesterday when I was cleaning, I repositioned things so that anything that trails or wants to drape, obviously it would be smarter to put those in the pots at the very bottom. The next layer up, you can see right here, we're gonna be making some pesto here in a few minutes. This is my incredibly huge bunch of basil that's just been doing amazing. I've already used one to make an incredibly large thing of pesto. See, yeah, see there you can see I trimmed off those roots, were incredibly long. So since I've just popped that out, oh, it smells so good. I'm gonna actually just put this over here because we're gonna be using that in a couple minutes to make that pesto. So now you can kind of see there's a few remnants of roots that kind of fell off as it was coming out, but now you've got the empty port where you can see in to where the water falls down. All right, so I have the basil, I have 6 of the bib lettuce. You'll notice here as an example, the big one of the bib lettuce that I showed you, it's been growing for about 4 weeks. I planted it from seeds when I got my light kit 4 weeks ago, and boom, it's crazy. Now this one is also bib lettuce, but it's a lot smaller. And the reason is, as you harvest, you don't have to cut them to the very bottom, but you can cut them pretty much off, and see how this one's already coming back with the bib lettuce growing again. So I thought I'd show you that. I've got a couple of rainbow chard. I've got some microgreens up here, and I'll be honest with you guys, I don't remember what I planted, and they're not doing so great, so I don't know what I'm gonna do with those. I may try them in a salad here in a couple days, because they are, I think, supposed to be microgreens. But I didn't label things well, and I should have written it down somewhere, and I did not. But like I said, I've got green beans on the bottom here. Let's see if I can find a couple. The nice thing about green beans indoors is they don't need pollination. You don't need to do anything to them. They're gonna flower, and then you can see some flowers down there. And then they're gonna turn into green beans. So that's the good news. Oh, so sweet and yummy. Rainbow chard. I did have a couple of basil. I just pulled that one out. Oh, and here's one other one I wanted to show you. So I put this in to grow from a kitchen scrap probably 8 or 9 weeks ago, and it was actually, believe it or not, it was romaine lettuce. I think it was romaine lettuce. Anyways, and this is a great lesson. So first of all, it didn't have lights for many weeks, and so it started to get long and spindly. Then when it started to grow leaves, which I've now trimmed off, and I ate them yesterday for dinner, you'll see what's happening here at the very end. You see that? That's flowering now, isn't it? So what that means is that these leaves are gonna be, they're gonna be bitter. This plant has bolted. Oh, yeah, really bitter. So this plant has bolted. So I left that on my tower garden just so I could show that to you guys, but that's bolted and gone to seed. So now I can just leave that, and then I can harvest those seeds and plant them in some more rock wool, so that then I can grow some more romaine lettuce, and I don't even have to buy romaine lettuce seeds, which I think is really neat. So here's another one. This one hasn't bolted, but it hasn't done very well either, and I think it's because it was covered up by the beans. And see how it's grown its own roots and everything? Isn't that neat? It's just so cool. So I'm gonna put that back in its little basket, and we'll see if it thrives. I'm just gonna go around to the back, see if I'm missing anything. Oh yeah, over here, I had taken some onions that we just had in the kitchen and had used, and put them in here, and you can see the roots, and they're growing into more onions for me too, which will be nice. We like to use onions in cooking as well. And then I think mostly, we have lots of bib lettuce. In fact, too much. Pretty soon I'm gonna have to harvest that. And harvesting is this simple. I take a pair of scissors, and I'll just do a couple, but I just kind of cut it off a little bit, about an inch or so up from the root, and then I just harvest that, and we have lots and lots of salads. So so this is Tallulah. I absolutely love her, and I just wanted to kind of give you guys the basics of it. It's a hydroponic system. It comes in pieces and you put it together. It's got some rods and screws on the inside. The light kit will make it so that you can grow indoors 24/7, 365. I live in Minnesota, so I can't wait to be getting fruit, well, not fruits, but vegetables in the middle of winter. I'm gonna get excited and try some new things too. I tried mostly what came with the Tower Garden, the seeds that the Juice Plus company provides to us. And it's not a lot of difference, a lot of just different greens and things like that. So it's a great way to learn and get started with doing it. And so that's what I did. The green beans were my idea because I just love green beans. And let me just show you really quickly too. The last part of the equation is you do have to check your pH. So they give you this little kit where you dip out some water and then you put that water in here and then you put 3 drops of this and it tells you the color and then you can match it up on your chart and then you need to know, then you'll know if you need to do pH up or pH down. Mine balances out pretty well because when I first filled up mine, we have a whole house water softener system and they don't want you to use salted water. It's not good for your plants, obviously. So I actually gathered water from a rain barrel, and so I used rainwater. Now I'm almost out. That's something else here, and it's covered up. You can't really see it. Let me see if I can move this to show you. There's actually a little floaty stick. There it is. And it tells you how much water's in there. Mine is very low. The stick's supposed to be up this high, and mine is very low. So I am waiting for a good rain so that I can refill my Tower Garden. Other than that, I'm gonna have to buy an RV filter so I can, filter out my home water, which they're not expensive, so you can do that. But I'm hoping it'll rain before I have to worry about that. So that's Tallulah Tower Garden, and I love her, and I can't wait to be getting more and more things this winter. I'm gonna plant some mini tomatoes, I'm gonna plant some cucumbers, figure out a way to kind of shore those up on the very bottom ports, and more lettuce and I love microgreens, so I'm gonna really experiment with the top ports and the microgreens. This is a bib lettuce I just didn't have room for in any of the baskets, and I put it up there. So it does work, but the ports are closer together, so you don't have as much room if you're growing big plants. That's why they're meant to be microgreens on the top area. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna turn it on, I'm gonna plug it back in because it's missing its light, and you're gonna see how incredibly bright this thing is. Whee! There we go. So it is a bit like being in a Star Wars movie or something. So it's very bright. They're full spectrum lights, and they are adjustable. You don't want to adjust them by the light. You want to adjust them by the metal thing at the top here. But they're adjustable if you get lots of growth. And the timer, they do recommend 18 hours of daylight. So that's what I have mine set for. All right, so that's Tallulah. I hope you enjoyed that little tour. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna turn this around and we are going to make some pesto. And I have a lot of friends who have nut allergies. So what I do is I make my pesto without pine nuts. And there's a couple of good recipes for it. So basically I'm gonna take my basil, I'm gonna cut it off. I'm gonna leave whatever falls off of there. I'm gonna leave this for now because again I'll be putting that back into my Tower Garden. I'm gonna see if this is gonna be approximately a cup. Just give it a couple of quick little chops to get it sort of chopped down. Looks to be roughly a cup. I basically eyeball it. There's some recipes out there where they tell you this much and that much. Pardon me, but for me I just kind of eyeball it, and this to me is roughly a big handful would be a cup. So what you want to do is you want to put in your basil, and then the other ingredients besides your basil are going to be, and this is my little mini food processor that I show you guys in a lot of my other videos. I love my little mini food processor. Is some olive oil, and so I've got a cup, and then it says a quarter cup. But I'm gonna start with a tablespoon of olive oil for mine because I'll show you why in a minute here. I actually have, it says a clove of garlic, and I'll tell you what, I don't actually usually normally have garlic in the house, but I buy this. I buy the already minced garlic at Trader Joe's, and it's packed in olive oil. So it's got extra olive oil in it, that's why I don't put so much. And then it asks for about, for me, I like a lot of garlic, so I'm thinking that's about a half a tablespoon in there. So I'm gonna kind of mix that in, and we're gonna chop that up, and it'll be loud here for a second. look-see. Oh yeah, that looks really good. I'll kind of show that to you. All right, and I'm gonna scrape down the sides a little bit. See if we can't chop it up a little bit more. So basil, olive oil, clove of garlic. Now the pine nuts would go in here as well. And like I said, you can use nuts if you like, but we have a lot of people come through our house that have nut allergies. So I just like to make it without. All right, do a little bit more chopping with that. All right, so you can chop it more finely if you like. If I was using the Vitamix, then I could get it even more fine, but it's going to go on our pasta for dinner this evening, so it doesn't have to be super fine. But anyway, next thing I'm going to do, of course, is just pull out that little blade. Put that down here. All right, and then the last ingredient, besides your pine nuts, and I'm going to put mine in right now, is going to be a tablespoon or so of, I use a Parmesan Pecorino blend of cheese, and it just gives it a really nice flavor. You can use any of the white cheeses if you like. Parmesan's strictly Pecorino. I'm trying to think of what the other white cheese that they use a lot of in Italy, but basically we're gonna stir it up. And okay, this is looking not quite as oily as you might like it. You want to preserve the basil, kind of, so it sort of like floats in there. You want to be able to preserve that. So I'm going to put another half a tablespoon in there, stir it up a little bit more. Yeah. All right, that's looking a little better. All right, so I'll post that recipe in the Facebook page here in just a moment, but I want you to look and see how delicious this looks with this fresh basil from tower to table, we call it. Doesn't that look delicious? I'm gonna try it now. Oh my gosh. Honestly, the closer you can stay to nature, the better everything tastes. So thanks for joining me. I appreciate you joining me today. Again, I forgot to say at the very beginning, but my name is Karen and I represent the Juice Plus Company, and our passion is to share with you how you can get more and more fresh plant-based food into your body. The more you can get in each day, the more opportunity you have to take health into your own hands and to get the vibrancy and health that you deserve and that you can choose. So thank you for joining me today for my tour of Tallulah Tower Garden. I hope you enjoyed it. And for joining me for making some yummy pesto. We're having this for dinner on our pasta tonight. So I'm glad I could get that made. All right, everybody have a great day, and thanks so much for joining me. Bye for now.